Okay, okay, students. Today I'll teach you. HSP. HSP is Hinox-Conlin purpura and Kawasaki disease. Okay, so these are vasculitis syndromes. But before this, I want to say that what is rheumatology? Rheumatology is a study of diseases of joint, muscle, and ligaments. These are the rheumatology. So we have to know rheumatoid diseases in children. So those diseases where your joint involvement is there. This disease you should know. So like this, vasculitis syndrome where the small vessels or vessels supply to the joint also involved. When these small vessels supply to the joint are affected or inflammatory, then your joints also affected. So those where or those diseases where your joint is involved, we should know that disease. So vasculitis syndromes where joints are also affected, these syndromes we should know. And what are the common? All vasculitis no need to know. Those vasculitis syndromes which are very common, we can see daily or in our pediatric ward. These things, these vasculitis syndrome you should know. And these are most common in children. Again, why these 2 or 3 are most common? Because this disease you have to diagnose, only clinically you have to diagnose. There is no diagnostic methods. Okay, so vasculitis syndrome which are most common in children in day-to-day life we'll see, and we have to diagnose in clinical basis. There is no diagnostic, like specific diagnostic method to diagnose these cases. So then that diseases you should have to know. So what are these 2 diseases? One is Hinox-Conlin purpura, one more is Kawasaki disease. These 2 are your vasculitis syndrome. Then what is vasculitis? Vasculitis is inflammation of your vessels. Always vasculitis is idiopathic. That means your cause is not known. But sometimes it is due to infectious agent, sometimes due to medications, sometimes due to autoimmune disease. Okay, so these we have to know here only inflammation of the vessels, and we have to know these this Hinox-Conlin purpura and Kawasaki disease. These 2 are common, and that is due to inflammation of the vessels. So there is a classification. There is a classification of vasculitis according to your pattern or type of vessels involved. According to pattern or type of vessel involved, your disease will be like this. Suppose the large vessels. Large vessels means your coronary artery, brachial artery. When these arteries are involved, you will get one disease that is called Takayasu disease. Takayasu disease, or it is called pulseless disease. That is not common, rare. It is not common in children. It is rare, but you also have to know. So Takayasu disease when there is an inflammation of the large vessels. That is called Takayasu disease or pulseless disease. That is not common, rare, so we don't want to know that one. Next is medium vessels. Medium vessels, what are medium vessels? Like your renal artery, like mesenteric, okay, like coronary artery. These are medium vessels. When inflammation of these vessels occurs, you will get different. So when there is inflammation of the medium sized vessels like renal artery, coronary artery, you will get one disease that's called Kawasaki disease. So Kawasaki disease is important for us. That is common. Okay, and why it is more important to know? Because in Kawasaki disease, your coronary artery is involved. So there is chance of coronary artery aneurysm and your cardiac failure. So you have to know that Kawasaki disease. Third is small vessels. What are the small vessels? Like your arterioles, venules, capillary. So when these vessels are involved, you will get some diseases that is most common in children is Hinox-Conlin purpura. That is most common. You will get in pediatric one. So Takayasu is not no need to know because it is rare. But Hinox-Conlin purpura is small vessel vasculitis, and Kawasaki disease is a medium vessel vasculitis. These 2 are common, so we have to know this. So then next is how to know this vasculitis. What are the features of vasculitis? Okay, in vasculitis, your joint involved. There is a history of arthritis, but how to know? It's due to vasculitis, not joint proper. Means the vessels supplied to their joints are inflamed. So what are the features of vasculitis? There always itis means fever. So there will be fever, then you will get skin rash, you will get petechia, purpura, maculopapular rash, you will get skin lesion. Like you also will get neurologic manifestation. Again, you will get arthralgia, arthritis, and also you will get, if renal involvement, you will get hypertension, hematuria. These are the features of vasculitis. So from this, if any disease where you will get this with arthritis, think once it is maybe a vasculitis syndrome. So you have to investigate. What are the investigation? As usual, common blood count you have to do, and ESR, CRP, these things you have to know. Then one most important thing is that vessels may be due to autoimmune disease. And this, what are the common autoimmune disease, or what are the antibody you should know? These are called ANCA, anti-neutrophilic cytoplasmic antibody. These are common, some diseases where it is common. Also, you will get MCQ over that ANCA. So two types of antibody you will get. One is C-ANCA and one is P-ANCA. C-ANCA means cytoplasmic anti-nuclear cytoplasmic antibody, anti-neutrophilic cytoplasmic antibody. C-ANCA. P-ANCA is perinuclear, around the nucleus. The antibody is around the nucleus. So P-ANCA. So C-ANCA and P-ANCA, these are antibody when there is inflammation of any vessels. You will get these two type of common antibody, and you will get the disease. These are Wegener granulomatosis, for example. That is a disease due to C-ANCA. So MCQ always MCQ will come for C-ANCA, P-ANCA. Okay, so you should know these antibodies causes your vasculitis. So what are the features of vasculitis? What are the investigation you have to do vasculitis? What is the classification of vasculitis? This minimum thing you should know. Next, I have to know common vasculitis, that is hinox-condyline purpura. So what is hinox-condyline purpura? Hinox-condyline purpura is a small vessel vasculitis. It is a IgA, immunoglobulin A mediated vasculitis. Okay. So hinox-condyline is most common systemic vasculitis of childhood with tetrad features. Tetrad features means why tetrad features? Now these small vessels are supplying skin, joint, then your mesentery, and that means skin even supply, that is supplied to skin. You will get rash. When mesenteric vessels supplied, you will get abdominal pain. When kidney vessels supplied, you will get renal diseases. One more is joint. You will access. So tetrad of hinox-condyline purpura is rash, arthritis, abdominal pain, and nephritis. So tetrad of hinox-condyline purpura, that is your problem. So hinox-condyline purpura is a IgA mediated vasculitis of small vessels supplied to the joint, skin, kidney, and GI tract. Where what happened that in that cases there is leaking of blood due to inflammation. Due to inflammation of the vessels, there is leaking of blood to that region, and that causes symptoms. Okay, so that is hinox-condyline purpura or hinox-condyline purpura. So that is hinox-condyline is an acute immunoglobulin mediated disorder characterized by generalized vasculitis involving the small vessels of the skin, GI tract, kidney, joints. Rarely you will get CNS and lungs. So these are the classification of vasculitis. According to large vessels, you will get arteritis. According to medium size, you will get PAN. Remember, in childhood PAN and adult PAN. Okay. Then according to small vessels, it is granulomatous, non-granulomatous. Under non-granulomatous, you will get hinox-condyline purpura. These are the MCQ you will get in PG course. So epidemiology. If you'll know, hinox-condyline purpura is most common in between the age 2 years to 10 years. Average is 6 to 8 years. So most common in between 2 years to 8 years. Again, in hinox-condyline purpura, females are more common. Females are more affected in HSP. Third thing, it is most common during the season of spring season and winter season. Again, always it is followed by a infection, that is upper respiratory infections. Okay, so HSP is always followed by a upper respiratory infection. Sometimes it is maybe a GI infections. Always it is 90% cases. It is always followed by a upper respiratory infection. After 4 or 5 days of upper respiratory infection, like common cold, you will get rash in body. First, baby will say abdominal pain or there is then after this he will get rash. Okay, from this you will have to suspect maybe is a HSP. If there is no rash, you think maybe different case. If there is a rash, means always it is a collagen vascular disease or a connective disease or a vasculitis. So remember, when there is a rash in your body, maybe it is a collagen vascular disease with arthritis. With arthritis, with rash, you will always think it is a maybe a collagen vascular disease, maybe a connective tissue disease, or maybe vasculitis. Always suspect. Accordingly, you have to investigate. Now, what is the pathology of etiologenesis? Etiologenesis always the HSP is due to following a upper respiratory infection. What are the bacteria causing? Mostly there is Streptococcus pneumoniae, then Staphylococcus, maybe parainfluenza viruses. These are the bacteria causing upper respiratory infection, following which he will get or the baby will get rash and HSP features. So these are the what is pathogenesis. This is HSP is a IgA mediated vasculitis. What happened here? This is otherwise called it a leukocytoclastic vasculitis. Leukocytoclastic means here leukocytoclasia. Leukocytoclasia means there is fragmentation of leukocytes. So here whatever when there is infections, all neutrophil monocytes are migrated to that area. So after this, due to deposition of again the immune status of the body, immunity will grow up. There is a fragmentation of neutrophil. That's called leukocytoclasia. So that's why it is a leukocytoclastic vasculitis. Otherwise, you can say also it's a hypersensitivity vasculitis because of it is not directly due to inflammation of the bacteria. When there is inflammation of the throat, means there is upper respiratory infection due to autoimmune disease. There IgA, immunoglobulin A will be pushed in that vessels. That causes vasculitis. So subsequently, after infection of the or inflammation of your throat, infection of the throat, there is migration of neutrophils, monocyte to that area, and also subsequently development of immunoglobulin A. So with that neutrophils reach to that is your vascular one. There they causes neutrophilic necrotizing arteritis. That's inflammations. Subsequently, after that, immunoglobulin A deposition, complement C3 deposition, then fibrin deposition, this thing going on, and that causes the inflammation of the vasculitis, then rupture of the vessels. And when there is rupture of vessels, there is leaking of blood to the skin or the organs. That causes leaking of the blood to the skin, you will get purpura, the rash that's called purpura. If you will get when there is mesenteric vessels involvement, you will get pain, abdominal pain. When there is leaking to the kidney, you will get hematuria. Like this, these are the pathogenesis of or pathology of your vasculitis syndrome in HSP. So what are the clinical manifestations? So tetrad of, I said, tetrad of HSP. You have to remember this is a MCQ will come, and HSP is a 4-mark question in your exam. So HSP is tetrad features. Tetrad features means one is rash, that is called purpura. Second thing is abdominal pain. Third thing is nephritis. Fourth thing is arthritis. So 4 tetrad. Okay. So here purpura. What is purpura? Purpura is a pinkish color nodules or rash. You will find it over the skin, also over other organs. Okay. So it will start that purpura will start initially. It will start as a petechia. Petechia means a red color, reddish color, macular rash. Macular means size is less than 5 mm. So initially it is a reddish macular rash which size is less than 5 mm. When there is coalescence, more than 2 or 3 petechia coalesces, it becomes a purpura. It is called purpura, and its size is more than 5 mm. So what is the difference between petechia and purpura? Is petechia is reddish color and less than 5 mm. Purpura is more than pinkish color, more than 5 mm. Again, purpura is due to 2 types. One is non-thrombocytopenic purpura and thrombocytopenic purpura. Here HSP is non-thrombocytopenic. Why non-thrombocytopenic? Because in non-thrombocytopenic purpura, the platelet count is normal. Platelet count is here normal. Because of there is inflammation of the vessels, or when there is a damage to the vessels, you will get purpura. That is called non-thrombocytopenic. Thrombocytopenic purpura, where you will get platelet reduce of platelet, like ITP, your idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura, TTP. So in that cases, you will get there is platelet count reduced. That you will get thrombocytopenic purpura. Again, purpura again is this here. The purpura is called non-blanching. What is the meaning of non-blanching? Blanching means when you just stretch the skin, it will disappear. That is called blanching. If it will not disappear, still it will stretch and it will persist. It's called non-blanching. So here in HSP, you will get non-blanching type of purpura. See, okay, again, this purpura. So purpura is two types. One is non-thrombocytopenic, thrombocytopenic. Again, palpable. No, here you will get palpable, means raised. The purpura also raised above the skin. So you can palpate that one. So here, which type of purpura you will get? So one is non-thrombocytopenic, palpable. Again, non-blanching, non-thrombocytopenic, non-blanching, palpable. Again, symmetric. Both sides you will get symmetric level. Again, most common in the lower extremities. This is the typical purpura you will get in HSP. So whenever you will get a case of abdominal pain with rash, arthritis may or may not, you will always think it is maybe HSP. And the purpura or the rash will be always below the knee. So rash below the knee with abdominal pain or joint pain, always HSP. Okay. So purpura, palpable purpura in HSP is a non-thrombocytopenic, non-blanching, palpable, non-tender purpura, symmetric purpura in lower extremities. That is the definition of purpura in your HSP. Next is abdominal. Your baby will get abdominal pain. In 75% of baby will get abdominal pain. That is due to mesenteric vessels involvement. Okay, baby will present, and that abdominal pain will be more after food. After taking food, it will be more. Okay, so immediately you have to treat. Immediately to start, you have to treat. Otherwise, what happens? That complication, most common complication you will get, that is perforation, and also intussusception. Okay, and if you will get intussusception, that is lower terminal ileum side is more. Okay, so you immediately have to start treatment. If there is a abdominal pain, you have to start immediately treatment to prevent perforations. That is, so this is also rash. This abdominal pain. Then arthritis. What is arthritis? Arthritis means you will get, there is pain, tenderness, redness, effusion, you will get here. But arthritis means only tenderness you will get, maybe not be red, effusion or color. So that is the difference, arthritis. So you will get arthritis or arthralgia. When again, this arthritis always oligo means single joint involvement and small joint involvement, or mostly it is large joint involvement in HSP, that is lower extremity again. So it is a oligo-articular. Oligo means single, and it is mostly lower extremities, knee, ankle. Okay, and it is this arthritis is, you will say, non-deformity, means it will heal. It will not cause any disability. It will cause any disability in future. So it is a non-deforming and heals without chronic damage within a few weeks. So that is arthritis in HSP. So renal involvement. When there is renal involvement, you will get hematuria, microscopic hematuria. Isolated microscopic hematuria is most. Isolated means not related to any, means no pyuria, no other things you will get. Only isolated hematuria, not related to other diseases also. Okay, so isolated microscopic hematuria you will get. What is the type of hematuria? One is microscopic hematuria, one is gross hematuria. Okay, so isolated microscopic hematuria you will get in HSP. Gross hematuria here you will get in nephritis, you will get gross hematuria. Microscopic hematuria here you will get nephrotic syndrome. Nephrotic syndrome will get microscopic hematuria. Gross hematuria you will get in nephritis, glomerulonephritis. So like isolated means only hematuria, not associated with pyuria. Only hematuria you will get in HSP, or you will get proteinuria also. And others in nephrotic syndrome, nephritis, renal failure, it will progress. If you will not treat properly, it will progress to end-stage renal disease. This is also, there is tetrad of HSP. So diagnosis. So here there is no specific diagnosis for HSP. Always it is clinical diagnosis. When you will get one baby with rash, lower extremities, with abdominal pain or joint pain, always HSP is the first diagnosis here. So always clinical diagnosis, because there is no definite lab diagnosis. If you want to confirmation, then you have to take biopsy of the tissue. Then you will get the changes. Histopathology, you will get the result. Okay. So diagnosis is always, it is a clinical diagnosis. So next is other things you can like in any inflammation, any disease, you have to do a CPC, complete blood count, urine test, ESR, CRP. In this case, CRP will rise, ESR will rise. Okay. Then CPC will get leukocytosis, your neutrophil you will get here, and anemia you will get here. And if you do biopsy, you will get that is IgA deposition, or if you do fluorescence, immunofluorescence test, you will get that IgA deposition in vascular wall. These are the tests. So confirmatory test is due to you have to do biopsy. So what is the treatment? Always it is support. So mild, always prognosis is excellent. It's a mild and self-limited. Mild is if self-limited, it will take 4 weeks. If you will not treat, it is self-limited and it takes 4 weeks. So always support it. Mild cases and self-limited, you have to supportive care with them. Otherwise, symptomatic therapy, like if any pain, you have to give NSAID, LIG. Otherwise, you have to give, so to prevent perforations like abdominal pain, arthritis, or to renal disease. Even for renal disease, suppose renal involvement is there, so you have to start immediately. Otherwise, it will progress to end-stage renal disease. So you have to start some immunosuppressive. That is your steroid. You have to start here. So management of HSP is you have to write supportive, symptomatic, then immunosuppressive. Immunosuppressive you have to start steroid. Steroid you have to start. That is prednisolone 1 milligram per kg per day. You have to give 2 weeks continuous. After this, you have to taper. Okay. So what is the complications of HSP? One complication, most common complication is here. That is abdominal perforations, then intussusceptions, and in renal arthritis, it will heal, no problem, no deformity. But renal, you will get end-stage renal disease. So in HSP, what is the most of the time this renal disease or renal involvement also occurs after 6 months of diagnosis. So in any HSP cases, once diagnosed, you have to follow that case and you have to do blood pressure. Hypertension you will get here also due to renal involvement. So urine test, renal function test, and your blood pressure you have to check regularly till 6 months. This is the advice, or this is the follow-up you have to do. Now this is all about HSP, Hinox coliform. You will get daily. If you go pediatric ward, you will go definitely in per day 1 or in a month. You definitely 4 or 5 you will get. Okay, so it is HSP is most common, and it is clinical diagnosis. Next is your Kawasaki disease. Kawasaki disease is your middle size artery, that is coronary artery, renal artery. These two arteries are at medium size level and affected. In medium size artery, when affected, you will get the disease. So when there is coronary artery affected, you will get this, I will say Kawasaki disease. So in Kawasaki disease, you will get coronary artery involvement and you will get coronary artery aneurysm. So what is a Kawasaki disease? So Kawasaki disease is called a mucocutaneous lymph node syndrome, or it is always otherwise called as a childhood PAN, childhood or infantile polyarteritis nodosa. Kawasaki disease is a non-granulomatous. Okay, Kawasaki disease is a mucocutaneous lymph node. Mucocutaneous means here mucosa involvement, cutaneous means rash involvement, and lymph node. Lymph node is, that is cervical lymph node involvement. So this is a Kawasaki is a mucocutaneous lymph node syndrome, or otherwise called it is infantile PAN. Is an acute fecal illness characterized by inflammation of blood vessels throughout the body. They are primarily affects young children and infants. Okay. So epidemiology will say Kawasaki disease is more common below 2 years. Your HSP is most common between 2 years to your 10 years. Kawasaki disease is less than 4 years. Most commonly in average 2 years. And here in HSP, females are more affected. But in Kawasaki disease, males are affected more. And who are more in risk? Those baby less than 6 months or above 5 years. They are more prone for development of coronary artery aneurysm. So those baby, if affected or having a Kawasaki disease in future, they will develop, or during the progress of the disease, they will develop this coronary artery aneurysm. What are the sign symptoms? So I forgot to one thing. In HSP there is a diagnosis. You will get diagnosis. What is the diagnosis of clinical criteria to diagnose HSP? So in clinical criteria to diagnose HSP, one is American criteria and European criteria. In American criteria, there is a palpable purpura, or in both cases, palpable purpura is few. One associated with others. So in American, you will get palpable purpura, age less than 20 years with histopathological study. So okay, out of this one more is GI symptoms. So palpable purpura, age less than 20 years, and bowel angina, means abdominal pain, and histopathology. Out of 4, if 2 are present, then it is a diagnosis of HSP according to your American criteria. One more European criteria, according to European criteria, definite there is presence of palpable purpura with arthritis or abdominal pain or neurological symptoms with histopathology. Out of this, with palpable purpura, one more, then it is European. So this is the clinical, this is the criteria to diagnose HSP according to American and European. Same thing here, Kawasaki disease, there is a classical criteria. What is the criteria? Fever, that should be fever. That should be fever, always fever. But what is the fever features? The fever should be more than 101 degree Fahrenheit or more than 38 degrees Celsius. With, it is a non-remitting. Non-remitting means it will not touch baseline, always fluctuate. But then, so it's a high grade fever, non-remitting. Most important thing is not responding to antibiotics. Not responding to antibiotics. So these 3 are features of fever. So fever should be high grade, non-remitting, and not responding to antibiotics. This is fever. So in classical Kawasaki disease criteria, fever should be persistent. Sorry, fever should be 5 days. Fever should be high grade fever, non-remitting, not responding to antibiotic, at least 5 days. At least 5 days fever. So these are fever features. With, you will get non-exudative conjunctival chemosis or your erythema. Okay, that is non-exudative. That is conjunctival movement. Then erythema of the oral mucosa, oral pharyngeal mucosa, erythema. Okay. Then there is perioral swelling, periorbital swelling, perioral swelling with cracked lips. Then strawberry tongue. So one more, first thing is non-exudative conjunctivitis. Second thing is oral erythema of the oral and pharyngeal mucosa. Third thing is strawberry tongue, tongue like strawberry. These are important features. The fourth thing is there is desquamation, perianal desquamation or periungual. This here you will get desquamation of skin. You will get desquamation. Then you will get other things like gastrointestinal symptoms or neurological symptoms. Other symptoms you will get. But most commonly these are the criteria for classical Kawasaki disease. Then what are the these are the strawberry tongue. So next is what are the types of Kawasaki disease. So you have to remember always, you should remember criteria to diagnose KD, criteria to diagnose HSP. Okay. So here what are the types of KD? Here types of one is classical KD. Classical Kawasaki disease, fever, conjunctivitis, strawberry tongue, periungual desquamations, neurological, arthritis. These are the features of KD. And always Kawasaki is 4 years. Okay. Second idea is node fast KD. Node fast KD means here there is no fever. No, sorry. Here there is fever with nodes. Means your cervical lymph nodes are involved. Here cervical lymph nodes and size should be more than 1.5 centimeter. Okay. So here also in classical KD also you will get upper cervical lymphadenopathy, and that should be more than 1.5. In node fast KD, you will get fever with node. Other features you will not get. Later period you get. So always there is confusion whether it is a classical KD or a node fast KD, because your treatment will be different. So in node fast KD, always it is common in below 2 years baby. Below 2 years baby, again your node involvement first, then fever without this conjunctivitis, strawberry tongue, which is node fast KD. Third thing is incomplete or atypical. Kawasaki disease is typical KD. Atypical or incomplete KD. In which what happened in that cases you will get persistent fever, and you will get 3 or 4 with persistent fever. You will get 3 or 4 signs like this: conjunctivitis, your strawberry tongue, or perioral swelling, like this 3 or 4. But in classical KD, you will get always with fever more than 4 signs. That is the difference. And incomplete KD is most common in infants, means below 1 year baby. Remember, KD is classical KD is 4 years. Your node fast KD is 2 years. Incomplete KD is 1 year. Okay, so this is the and fourth KD is that is called resistant IVIG resistant KD, intravenous immunoglobulin resistant Kawasaki disease. So there is 4 types. One is classical KD, node fast KD. Third one is incomplete or atypical KD. Fourth one is IVIG resistant KD. What is IVIG resistant KD? Once there is a classical KD, you are thinking a classical KD, you started treatment. After 48 to 72 hours, the symptoms will decrease. But here, what happened in resistant KD? Still, it will persist or recrudescence. Persistence of fever or recrudescence. There is no decrease in signs and symptoms. That is called resistance KD. So there is 4 types of KD. So this is the, again, what are the phases? Clinical phases. So there is 3 clinical phases. Phase 1 is acute febrile phase. That is last for 1 to 2 weeks. Here, what you will get? All prodromal symptoms like fevers and with your chemosis of the conjunctiva, erythema of the oral mucosa, pharyngeal mucosa, strawberry tongue. In that phase you will get. That is 1 to 2 weeks. Then next is subacute phase. First acute phase, then that is acute febrile phase, then subacute phase. Subacute phase is lasting for 3 weeks. What happened in that? Here there is inflammation, there is neutrophilic necrotizing arteritis occur, and your deposition of immunoglobulin. Suppose there is autoimmune disease, or you will get here necrotizing neutrophilic necrotizing arteritis. So here you will get desquamation, thrombocytosis, and development of CA. CA means coronary artery aneurysm. So in that phase, baby will get this. So be careful. So when you will think it is a Kawasaki disease, immediately you have to do 2D echo to know whether it is developed or not. Next, third phase is convalescent phase. Convalescent is 6 to 8 weeks. It will take care. At that phase, all clinical signs will reduce. How to know that one? In that case, stage, what will the ESR level? ESR value will decrease, either normal or it will decrease, and all signs will decrease. Then you will know it means in baby is in convalescent phase. Okay. So there is 3 clinical phase. One is acute, that is acute febrile phase. The second one is subacute phase, and third is convalescent phase. These are the clinical stages of Kawasaki disease. So these are periungual desquamation, that is your dorsal edema you will get. So these are the one features of classical disease. So remember, fever one is second is your strawberry tongue, conjunctivitis, cervical lymphadenopathy, desquamation, and that is edema, dorsal edema. Okay, that is edema of the head. These are the 4-5 features of the rash. First type rash here you will get, that is erythematous maculopapular rash in over the jaw. This is diagnostic criteria. So these are the 5 things we should see in Kawasaki disease. So what is the difference diagnosis? Different diagnosis is always there is all adenovirus virus, because here there is involvement of there is cervical glands. So always you will be confused whether it is a viral throat infection, viral upper respiratory infection, maybe infectious mononucleosis. So maybe is a, so most commonly it is either it is adenovirus infections or a measles or a scarlet fever. So the differential diagnosis is always there is a viral infection, viral upper respiratory infections, or infection mononucleosis, or a measles, or a scarlet fever. These are the differential diagnosis of Kawasaki disease. So what are the most important is you have to know what is the changes, what is the cardiological changes you will get here. So when you will think it is maybe or your diagnosis is a Kawasaki disease, always immediately you go for 2D echo to diagnose whether any changes or means any coronary artery disease, coronary artery aneurysm developed or not. So before this you have to do the ECG. So what you will get ECG? You will get arrhythmia, and also you will get prolonged PR, low voltage NST wave changes. So most important is here prolonged PR and QT intervals you have to see, and that is either tachycardia or your rate rhythm disturbance you have to see. And if you do X-ray, you will get cardiomegaly. And 2D echo, you will get aneurysm. So again, 3 types of aneurysm you will get here: mild, moderate, severe. By according to size, 5 to 8, more than 8. That is mild, moderate, severe type of aneurysm you will get. Okay. So if you not treat properly, it will rupture again, and there is chance of also cardiac failure. So Kawasaki disease is very important, and you have to diagnose early, and you have to start treatment early. So these are the common any diseases or any case you will get. You have to start accordingly. Like this, you have to ESR, CRP, and CBC. You have to know leukocytosis, neutropenia, elevated ESR, elevated CRP. You will get anemia here, and also you have to RA factor, rheumatoid arthritis factor, ANA. These things you have to also do here. This is atypical. So what is the treatment? So here, listen, when there is when you will diagnose or your diagnosis is a Kawasaki, always start immediately. Because if you delay, that will cause cardiac abnormality or cardiac failure or something. So you have to start. What is the idea? You have to start IVIG, intravenous immunoglobulin, and that should be 2 milligram per kg single dose within 10 days. Once you diagnose, within 10 days of diagnosis, you have to start immediately. Or within once you have diagnosed, means you have to start immediately IVIG 2 gram per kg over 10 to 12 hours. You have to give first 10 to 12 hours. Then you start aspirin. Aspirin you have to start. This is anti-inflammatory. The 80 to 100 milligram per kg, that is anti-inflammatory dose. So these two things you have to start immediately once you have diagnosed. Okay, and that best is within 10 days of diagnosis. So in acute stage, you have to start IVIG and aspirin. So remember, if you start immediately once you diagnose, then there is less 5 chances they will develop, 5% chances they will develop coronary artery. And if you start immediately also, only IVIG, there is 85% cases they won't get coronary artery. So if you start 2 at a time, there is 95% they won't get that coronary artery. If only IVIG, only 85% cases they won't get. Okay, so immediately you have to start. Once maybe after 48 to 72 hours, once maybe all symptoms will decrease, then immediately you have to change to aspirin in inflammatory dose to your antithrombotic case. Antithrombotic range, that is 3 to 5 milligram per kg once daily, and you have to continue 6 to 8 weeks to prevent your coronary artery aneurysm. This is the acute stage. Then in acute stage you start both IVIG, aspirin. Then in subacute stage you have to continue aspirin for 6 to 8 weeks, and convalescent also you will follow aspirin with antithrombotic. Okay, so these are the stages where you have to start and you have to treat that Kawasaki disease. Okay, so these are the common vascularity syndromes in your day-to-day life, or you will get in common cases you will get in pediatric wards. So that is all over vascularity syndromes. Some movement disorders. I forgot to say movement disorders in your neurological case. So what are the movement disorders? What is a movement disorder? Movement disorder is a involuntary, excessive involuntary movements that leads to different posture or like posture of the body. So involuntary, that is so movement disorders are characterized as well as excessive involuntary movements leads to a different posture. So what are the movement disorders? Again, movement disorders are one hypokinetic or hypokinetic. Hyper or hypo. Hyper always excessive and involuntary. And hypo are always voluntarily and slow. So accordingly, these are different. So what are the movement disorders? Movement disorders are like your tremor, chorea, hemiplegismus, dystonia, then myoclonus. So what is a chorea? Chorea is a writhing movement, like a war movement, like that. So which is the type of chorea? Sydenham chorea. Sydenham chorea is most common. Where you will get? That is acute rheumatic fever. Acute rheumatic fever you will get Sydenham chorea around that is again late features you will get, that is around 6 months or 4 to 6 months you will get, and that is like this. The chorea is like this. Okay. Then tremor like this. But tremor, types of tremor is, one is rest tremor, one is intention. Intense tremor means when you do some activities. So rest tremor, posture tremor, intention tremor. Okay, so intention tremor is always question will come. Intention tremor is you will get cerebral diseases. The tremor. So tremor is like this, and chorea is like this, breathing momentum. Okay, then hemiplegismus. First is myoclonus. Myoclonus you will get jerky movements. Bibles are like this, and short. There is no large axis, small axis. So Bibles will jerky movement and soft line movement. This is myoclonus. Okay, hemiplegismus you will get, that is amplitude means like amplitude. In myoclonus, small amplitude, and hemiplegismus you will get large amplitude. So hemiplegismus also. So you have to know what is the cause. Where is the cause and which is hemiplegismus? Where you will get hemiplegismus? Where you will get myoclonus? Where you will get chorea? So you will get always chorea. Sydenham chorea 2-mark question. Sydenham chorea is a 2-mark question. Movement disorder may or may not, but Sydenham chorea 2-mark question you will get. So movement disorders you have to know. You read what are the types of movement disorders, like your tremor, chorea, myoclonus, hemiplegismus, dystonia, ataxia, tics. Tics what is? So tics what is in children? Like these tics, or just blink the eye. Tics. These are also movement disorders. But tics they are normal in physiological condition. There is no need to treat. Okay. But rest are some disorder, brain disorder, that is movement disorders. So today that's all about this vascular syndromes and movement disorders. Next we'll teach you other things. Okay. Thank you.